Hi, this is Alan Seid, founder of Cascadia Workshops, and I'm here with a video on the very sensitive and super important topic of apologizing and forgiveness. This is the holiday time of year in which I'm filming this, and it's during this time of year that regardless of your background or your tradition, it's when we tend to get together with family more. And the pattern that I see in my work is that our closest relationships are the toughest ones. Our parents, our children, our spouse, our siblings, they tend to be the most charged and the most challenging of our relationships. And apologizing and forgiveness can actually create more connection, reconciliation, healing, and yet it's so tricky and most of us don't know how to effectively express an apology, how to effectively take it in. And in this video, I'm going to show you some key distinctions that'll make it really, really clear why some apologies absolutely don't even work. And we'll dissect that just a little bit to show you why they're so ineffective. And then there's a whole other kind of apology that goes much deeper and is actually so much more heartfelt. People really, really connect with it, and it can really help a relationship blossom. The work that I do is in many, many different areas, and one of those areas is a process called nonviolent communication. The man who taught it to me, Marshall Rosenberg, called it nonviolent communication because he wanted to align himself with Gandhi's movement of nonviolence. However, in India, they had a couple of words for what they meant that had no direct translation into English. So the word satyagraha, for example, no translation into English, roughly means soul truth or soul force or the power of the truth. The other word, ahimsa, roughly means I am not your enemy or harmlessness toward all beings. It's a little bit akin to the Buddhist concept of loving kindness. So we have these two concepts, the power of the truth and loving kindness, and in English we translate it into nonviolence. And that's the background of why nonviolent communication was named what it is, and it's an extremely powerful process for resolving conflicts and misunderstandings and taking relationships much, much deeper so that you can really create effective collaborations. One of the things that Dr. Rosenberg has done over his 45 years of traveling all over the world and training people and mediating conflicts is he's noticed that everywhere in every culture, people are playing one of two games. One of those games is called Who's Right and Who's Wrong, and the other game is called How Can I Make Life More Wonderful? So for the purposes of this video, we'll just think of those as two different approaches to life and to relationships. Who's right and who's wrong versus how can I make life more wonderful? And I'm going to call one life disconnected, life alienating, and again, for the purposes of this video, we'll call the other one life connected or life serving. So the two types of apologies fall into those two categories. And the life disconnected, life alienating apology basically comes from the background of thinking that I was bad and wrong, and therefore I deserve for you to hate me. Or I was bad and wrong and I deserve to suffer. And that becomes a really ineffective way of expressing an apology because first of all, it's all about me still. And second of all, it tends to reinforce guilt, shame, depression, or reinforce justification for somebody's anger toward me or my anger toward somebody else if we reverse the roles. So it ends up not helping us heal and create reconciliation and merely reinforces kind of a punitive approach to resolving conflicts. On the other hand, we have life-connected, life-serving communication and language and thinking. And from that perspective, a true apology is actually a form of sincere mourning. You know, this is what happened, and as a result of that, it didn't meet my own needs. I did something that was not in alignment with my own values, and I'm really sorry. I feel some sadness and some disappointment. So what I want you to pay attention to are those three components. The observation of exactly what I said or did, and then the need or value that wasn't in alignment with, and then how I felt about it. So that becomes really an expression of sincere mourning. I'll pick out a random example out of the air. One of my neighbors was driving very quickly and drove into another neighbor's driveway and ran over their dog and killed the dog. So for that neighbor to apologize, to be able to say, rather than I was terrible and I'm a terrible person and I deserve for you to hate me, it's, when I notice how fast I was driving and that I ran over your dog, I feel terrible inside. I'm so sad and disappointed because I really value caring for my neighbors and protecting life in all its forms. Here's the advanced tip that I want to give you. Sometimes it's hard for the other person to take in your apology. And the reason is because they need empathy first. So they need for you to really be with them and hear how painful that was. I'll give you an example. If I punch you in the face and immediately apologize, I'm sorry, then it's going to be hard for you to take in my apology unless you trust that I really get how much that hurt. I'll say that one more time because I know for some people that probably went by kind of quickly. I punch you, I say, I'm sorry. It's going to be hard for you to take in my apology until you trust that I understand how much that hurt. So before I apologize, I'm going to want to be present to the pain in the other person around my actions. I want to make sure that they feel heard. So for my one neighbor, he would need to really be with and be present to how painful it was for the other neighbors to have their dog run over, to lose their family companion. And once they really trust that the other person heard how painful that was for them, then they'll be in a different place to be able to hear the apology. It's kind of like if I walk up to you and I punch you in the face and then I say, I'm sorry, it's going to be hard for you to accept my apology until you trust that I get how painful that was for you. So keep in mind that if you sense that somebody else has animosity toward you or somebody else is upset toward you, then just slow down for a little bit and don't let yourself get caught up in the thinking of right, wrong, good, bad, and instead notice that there are needs that are going on for that other person. And if they're feeling any kind of upset or disappointment or sadness, that it's in relation to some needs of theirs that you also share. Because in nonviolent communication, we're talking about universal human needs. And that might help you be more present to what it is that's going on for them and the pain that they're in, so that when it comes time to sharing your apology, then they're going to be much more likely to be able to hear it. Or if you want an apology from somebody else, sometimes it happens that we'd like somebody else to apologize and we think they should apologize. And the very reason that they're resisting apologizing is because we might be in the life alienated, life disconnected type of thinking where they're thinking I was bad and wrong, or they think I was bad and wrong, and they think that I should suffer or I should be punished in some way. And so that very type of thinking actually gets in the way of the apology being more forthcoming. So we can help and coach them around being able to hear what's going on for us, and then we get to ask them how that feels for them and get outside of the right, wrong, and good and bad, and really hear if there's any sincere mourning there around their actions not meeting even their own needs. So that's the advanced tip, is just be aware that we may need empathy first before the apology and the forgiveness. Here's your assignment for this video, is I want you to go out and I want you to try at least one apology. And this is about having courageous conversations. I want you to be willing to think of one person that you want to apologize to and practice that type of apology where you share the observation of what exactly you said or did what value or need that did not align with, and how you feel in relation to that. Remember that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling fully afraid and then taking the next step and the next step and moving forward like that. So please leave me your comments or your questions below, and especially if you try out that apology, I want to hear how it went. And so go ahead and write that in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season with your loved ones.